Welcome back into Alive Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. Hurricane Fiona is on its way to Bermuda after crashing into the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico earlier this week. Category 3 storm brought down torrential rains and dangerous mudslides in Puerto Rico, where most people remain without electricity and running water. For more on those cleanup efforts, we are joined now by Fox Weather's Nicole Valdes. What can you tell us about those recovery efforts underway there in Puerto Rico?
Good evening. Well, you'll notice the sold power truck over my shoulder here in Puerto Rico. Reminder of the work yet to be done, as 80% of the island remains in the dark and nearly 800,000 people are still without running water. All of this devastation on the anniversary of one of the most catastrophic storms to ever hit the island of Puerto Rico. Hurricane Maria made landfall here 5 years ago to the day, and it is remembered as the storm that taught so many lessons and painted such a clear picture of the things that really should and needed to be done in order to better protect Puerto Ricans from the amount of destruction that these hurricanes cause. And unfortunately, the sentiment across the island today, as we feel just the weight and the gravity of the situation, is that many of those changes just simply have not happened. We are looking at some of the same damage, and this time really the focus of it more on the rainfall and flooding and less on the strength of the hurricane force winds that we still did experience in some portions of the island. But we traveled all across the island today. We ended up in a small town called Calle. It's about 43,000 people, home to about 43,000 people. The mayor there outspoken of just how dire the need is there. They have set up essentially a makeshift command center inside a local baseball stadium. They've actually taken us up into the mountains shortly afterwards to show us the challenges that they're dealing with still today. One of those being roads that are just absolutely impassable, and entire communities that are behind those those impassable roads. You're looking at an image here, hopefully of a tree and just feet of mud in the way of volunteers and emergency responders getting to people, about 15 or so, 7 or 8 families in all, that live behind that tree, that are just unable to leave their homes or access any grocery stores, get any gas. And so you're talking about people that have no power, they have no running water, yet they're unable to go and get gasoline to keep their generators running, to make sure that their kids have food, or if their food goes bad, replenish those supplies. So unfortunately, the situation here and the impact from Fiona, although it was only a Category 1 storm, nowhere near the strength of Hurricane Maria, people are still feeling similar, if not really the same effects from this storm 5 years really later. And unfortunately, it's just heartbreaking to watch them struggle. You know, as we drove around the island today, unfortunately, we noticed families pulling off to the side of the road, even the freeway at times, to tap into local water pipes to try to access some drinking water for the day for their kids, for their loved ones. I mean, unfortunately, this is going to be the reality here on the island for what could be the next several days, if not the next several weeks or months. Of course, we hope that these power outages do not last nearly as long as they did 5 years ago. Some were without power for 11 months at the time. And so we're looking at some power being restored, but again, only about 20% of people are seeing the lights on in their home right now, able to cook a meal. It's unfortunate that people are going to likely wonder when they'll see this back on.
And you talked about how they're assessing the damage. The governor said it would take roughly a week, or obviously a little bit more. But in Hurricane Maria 5 years ago, some 3,000 people lost their lives. And as of right now, that is significantly lower. How maybe more prepared were people this time around from Maria to now Fiona? Can you tell us any more about that?
You know, I think we're still waiting to find out exactly what was put in place and really the changes that they made from Hurricane Maria to today. Unfortunately, again, a lot of the flooding is something that's really led to the majority of the issues when we're talking about the power situation and, of course, the outages in the water supply here. The governor says that they definitely felt like they were more prepared, that they had teams in place ready to respond, and we are seeing power being restored so far at a faster rate than we may have seen during Hurricane Maria. Maria. The question is, will we see more to be done, rather, instead of responding, to prevent the level of impacts that we see with these hurricanes? You know, there was a lot of conversation when I've spoken to people here about the struggle to recover from Hurricane Maria. That's about building more resistant infrastructure here, something that's able to withstand not only the strength of hurricane force winds, but truthfully the amount of rainfall that the island tends to get when these hurricanes come through. So really, prevention is a lot of the conversation surrounding many Puerto Ricans that they hope will be implemented, and they actually hope would have been implemented 5 years ago, or at least several years after Hurricane Maria caused such devastation. You mentioned those several thousand that were lost. Really, many of those deaths attributed to just how long those outages occurred. Again, we're looking at 11 months. That is 11 months of people unable to access maybe some life-saving medical devices. Hospitals, of course, struggle to keep the lights on there, keep patients alive. So really, the access, or the lack of access, I should say, of basic needs is really what could lead to, unfortunately, lives lost after Hurricane Fiona, if this persists.
And I remember seeing an image from probably just a few months ago of the blue tarps on the tops of a lot of houses. And I think that is speaking to the infrastructure, like you said, that people were still trying to recover, that people still hadn't put roofs over their heads since Hurricane Maria. And it's just the beginning of hurricane season. Do you feel like there will be a plan in place from officials? Have you heard maybe more prepared recovery plan to make sure everybody can get a roof, can be more prepared in case a more significant storm comes through Puerto Rico, which is likely in the next few years as well?
Sure. I mean, when you talk about infrastructure, of course, you might think of homes, but infrastructure in Puerto Rico encompasses so much more than just your individual home. It encompasses the power lines, the actual power plants that provide that energy to the island, even buildings that house emergency responders that can be the place that you go if you find yourself injured or struggling or without your home, after one of these hurricanes move through. So it's about building them with more resistant materials, making sure that they are built to withstand these storms, knowing that Puerto Rico is in a location in our world where unfortunately these tropical systems develop and tend to move through, as we've seen over the last several years, if not decades. So really, especially the energy grid, I want to really focus on that. I think people talk about infrastructure and really want to hone in on the importance of the energy grid. If that is unable to withstand these storms that happen, unfortunately, decently frequently here, you're looking at a situation where Puerto Ricans are going to be constantly faced with lack of access to resources. And unfortunately, the energy grid in particular in Puerto Rico has had a history of issues. It is old, it is unfortunately fragile, and officials have admitted it absolutely needs a major overhaul. However, the money and the action plan to get that overhaul done, to make the updates it needs to be made, simply have not happened yet. We've been told that is about a 10-year or so plan they're working with the federal government to make happen, but obviously 5 years later, we have so far not seen that take place.
Thank you, Nicole, certainly giving us some perspective there from Puerto Rico, and we wish the people of Puerto Rico the best as they recover from this Hurricane Fiona this week. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Thank you again to our Fox Weather associates there in Puerto Rico. Hurricane Fiona, catastrophic damage. You heard a lot about infrastructure, and it was good to hear that perspective from Fox Weather's Nicole Valdes there. And we're going to continue here on Live Now from Fox and take a quick 2-minute break.